What does Area 51 have in common with the occult and Ouija boards? I had a conversation with the ex-UFO enthusiast who actually traveled to Area 51, and what he saw may shock you. There's been a huge spike in interest around UFOs and specifically aliens in the past couple months, with multiple government officials coming out and making statements of non-human biologics and increased sightings.
The family called 911 and told police they had 10-foot-tall alien beings in their backyard.
And all this controversy surrounding the topic have led many to question if UFOs existing are somehow incompatible with the existence of God, and specifically the God of Christianity. And this was exactly the topic of a recent video I did reacting to a specialist who gave one of the best explanations for UFOs that are directly from the scriptures. But today, I got him on. Nate from Wise Disciple, who shares his personal experience with the occult, Ouija boards, and what happened when he traveled to Area 51.
Here we go. Here we go.
Okay, so your video on aliens is brilliant. I love
Thank
that
you.
you pointed out the very obvious, the fact that it's probably another dimension that people are having encounters with.
Yeah.
Right? Not physical people in this dimension or in this universe, right?
Yeah.
And you said that was because of our planet being in a what was
Goldilocks
the
zone.
Goldilocks zone. Now there were people in the comment section, in my comment section, that were like, "No, he's wrong about the Goldilocks zone. There's other planet, you know." Do you want to address that? Because
Sure.
it seemed like pretty straightforward. Your argument seemed very linear, and I thought great.
Well, thank you. Yeah, and I appreciate the opportunity. In The Privileged Planet, which is a really great book, and it was an eye-opener for me. The Goldilocks zone is really a way of thinking about a planet that exists that has the elements that are conducive for life to thrive. It doesn't give us the beginning of life. So biogenesis. It just gives us, when there is life, how life would thrive. And that comes down to a couple elements, if I remember, like water, carbon. We're carbon-based creatures. Temperate living, so like the temperatures are just the right amount so that plants and flowers and creatures can grow and thrive. What's interesting is, and this probably comes mostly from non-believers, but probably some believers, is they'll look, so we have looked with technology out into the reaches of outer space, and we've seen planets that we think have water, don't know because, we're not there. And then we go, oh no, see, that's also the Goldilocks zone. No, the whole argument is that it has to have all of the elements that are conducive for life to thrive.
Right.
But even then, let's say, Ruslan, which there is no, as far as I understand, there is no planet that we've discovered with our technology in the furthest reaches of outer space that has all of the elements. Even if it did, you still have to explain biogenesis. Where did life begin? If you're a non-believer, you say abiogenesis, which means it just happened. There was a primordial goo and lightning hit a crystal or something. That's the famous Richard Dawkins explanation. One of the pushbacks that I got from my video was, well, what about Mars? Well, you talk about other galaxies, which was what I was saying is, yeah, other galaxies. You have to travel thousands and thousands of light years to get here.
Right.
They said, no, what about Mars? And I'm thinking to myself, I didn't say this in the comments, but I'm thinking to myself, brother, stop watching movies. Like, this isn't Transformers, Dark Side of the Moon. You know what I mean?
There's no life on Mars, dude. And if it is, it's not It's not intelligent life.
Yeah, I mean, as far as
it's ridiculous.
Yeah.
Like the argument of Mars is silly. So if for any type of meaningful life, you're talking thousands of light years away, which would have to break the laws of physics. Is that correct?
Well, as far as we know, in terms of sentient beings who can be alive physically, they would have to live for like 25,000 plus years just to get here. And that just seems improbable. Now, I could be wrong. All of this could be wrong, and I'm saying stuff that later will be proved to be incorrect, and I acknowledge that, but I'm just saying, from my vantage point, it just doesn't make sense.
Yeah.
But it's not just me.
Yeah, no, I agree. And again, I've talked to friends that are scientists, and they've kind of said the same thing. Like, it's very unlikely and improbable that something that all of that can happen.
Yeah.
They would have to be so technologically advanced and so different. And the constant like cliche image of aliens, is super. It's kind of the same. When you see them, but you pointed out that in other parts of the world, they're different. In other parts of the world, they're kind of some of them. Unpack that for me, because that was very interesting.
Yeah, so there's a really great book, and now I'm forgetting it, but it's written by a guy named Bates, Bates, Gary Bates. And all he did was he went and, because it's very hard to find one place that has all of the data collected in one central location. This book comes pretty close. So I would recommend that book. And he pointed out that when you look at accounts, because I think I talked about CAS, classic abduction syndrome cases, they'll talk about the description of the people that have quote unquote abducted them. And yeah, if you go like in other places, I mean, they don't look like gray beings with big black eyes like what we see here in the United States. Sometimes they look like tall Nordic beings. Sometimes they look like Bigfoot. They look like other things that, and again, this is an inference on my part, is probably more palatable for that side of the world. We think big, gray or big black eyes, gray beings, probably because of the movies that we've been influenced by. And also some of the accounts, from 1948 Roswell, all that stuff. But that would be my argument.
Yeah. Now, before we talk about the tie-in to the occult, which was very interesting, you said you had some experience with the occult prior to coming to salvation. What was that like?
Well, it was minimal, but like I said, so I rejected the gospel. I rejected my parents' faith. And so I just decided to go, it was very rebellious. I decided to go in the complete opposite direction. One of the things that I was fascinated by ever since a boy was the paranormal. There was I'll never forget, I was in, I think it was middle school, 6th grade. There was a paranormal section in my public school library. And I just went through there and got a bunch of books and started reading. And it was just a fascinating topic for me. By the way, no explanation from the church side to sort of tie it into a biblical worldview. I taught myself how to read tarot cards. I started communicating with spirits, grabbed Ouija boards. We went to haunted locations. It was a lot of, they do this now on the History Channel, ghost detectives or ghost investigators. I was doing that before those shows existed, and being obnoxious, inviting spirits to manifest themselves. So in my house, I had a house in Vegas for a while. Yeah, the spirits would manifest themselves, but in benign ways. I mean, I had nightmares of people attacking me in my sleep, and I'd wake up, sort of grasping at the air, trying to fight my attackers. Lights would turn on and off, doors would open and shut in my house. I think the worst one was, and again, this is all benign, but I went to a house that a friend of mine had said he thought it was haunted. He had experiences there. We communicated with the spirit with a Ouija board. Not much happened, but I just felt like I wanted to film it. So I grabbed my camera. We came back a week later, and we went into the house, and the entire floor, carpet and tile, was covered with dead insects.
Yuck.
It was incredible. And I was like, wow, that's kind of creepy. That graduated to other stuff. I learned how to hypnotize people. Like it was a free for all. And aliens. I lived in Vegas, so we went to Area 51. I went out there twice, and I went past the point that you're not supposed to cross.
You're wild, man.
I was an idiot.
You just went for it, huh?
I went for it. I got busted. So I don't know if you've been, but like there is a sign that says...
No, I've never been.
Yeah.
No, I have no desire to go. not chasing aliens, man.
Yeah, don't. It's not. And I didn't see anything.
Yeah.
But I'm just saying, I figured out where Area 51 is. There's a turnoff that nobody knows about, but I found it. And so me and my friends went down there, and there's a sign that says, because it's Groom Lake, it's a government facility. There's a sign that says, if you pass this point, we will shoot you. Of course, I went past it. And because if I can describe it, and hopefully I don't get the government's watching this, there's a winding road between two tall hills. And so I just wanted to see the facility. So we're coming around the bend, and there's more hills. And so I'm telling my friends, let's get out and let's climb up the hill and look over. We climb up the hill, and I bump right into a 6-foot tall metal tripod with like measuring equipment on it and video camera. And I freak out. So we run back to the car and we peel out and leave. And then like 2 minutes down the road, I'm like, wait. That was nothing. Let's go back. So we go back, and I get out, and we were met with military police.
What'd they say?
They didn't say much. They just, they pointed and told us to turn around.
That was it?
That was it. And that was God's grace.
Yeah.
Because that could have been worse.
They could have shot you. They could have shot you. So you're enamored with all this stuff. Now, talk were, excuse me.
Yeah.
And to the point where you were hypnotizing people?
Yeah, to me it was a joke. Yeah. And that's what I want to relay as a takeaway. I thought it was all a joke.
People dabble with stuff and think it's just fun and games, or maybe think that there's some power of suggestion or whatever in it, and then but then you're actually dabbling in spiritual matters that
That's true.
Shouldn't be dabbling with.
That's right.
And so connect the dots for those who are watching in terms of how the folks who have these encounters with aliens tend to also have strong connections to the occult.
Well, that appears to be the end result of their encounters with these beings. And I say beings because I don't believe at all that aliens are actual physical creatures from another galaxy. I think they're beings that have come to our dimension from another one. And I mean, if you don't even need to be a believer in Jesus Christ to get there in terms of an inference. I think the evidence is strong enough to get you there. You don't even have to believe it. But of course, as Christians, in our worldview, we have an explanation for this, you know? And that's where I said that these are demons. If you think about demons and you think about their goals, this is right in line with what you see when you read about classic abduction syndrome cases, where people will say, I was abducted, and they were communicated to by aliens. The stories vary, but what they'll say is, we are the ones who created life on Earth. We, implanted life on Earth, and now we're back to bring about some kind of utopia. We're going to solve the world's problems. What's interesting is a lot of people, after they have encounters, and it's always multiple encounters, it's not just one. So these people will be revisited. And over the course of their visitations with these beings, they'll become much more friendly to the occult, to pagan occultic practice, where it's more universalist in nature. All religions lead to the same thing. But at the top are the aliens as the ones to be worshipped. And then, of course, it's sort of, there's an antipathy towards Christianity. And so you'll hear sometimes in the language like of the aliens communicating to people like, well, Jesus was just another alien traveler like us, which is anti-gospel.
Yeah.
And that's ultimately what happens. And there's, like I said, the best book on that is, it's all collected together. It's the book by Bates.
Yeah.
It's an eye-opener.
Hey, this was just a small snippet of a 2-hour-long conversation that I had with Nate from Wise Disciples. So if you want to partner with us to get access to exclusive interviews, as well as our daily after-party streams, access to our private Discord, hit the link and sign up below to get the full, unedited, and unreleased version of this interview for only $5 a month. I'll see you over there. Peace.